Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Saturday night. It is Revolutionary Change Pontificating with Pete. Hope you're all doing well. And what do you know? There's another shooting at the White House. I think that's, how many is that now? Or at least attempt to get into the White House. I think that's like 3 or 4 maybe. And needless to say, I'm not surprised at all, but this is a clip that apparently just dropped from a lady named Selena Wong. She is a reporter outside, I guess just right outside the White House. And this happened within the last hour or so.
Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart.
No. Listen closely. It's not one shot. It's 2 people shooting. No. Well, now what you have to look out for is what is the language going to be amongst the MAGA. Excuse me. Don't know why that happened. But amongst the MAGA paid influencers, it's going to be interesting to see what ultimately ends up happening there. Because whatever the instructions that are given in terms of the message that they want out there, you will see it from the usual suspects. So that's what's going to happen. Now, I don't know what the purpose of this is or why somebody would try to attempt to go in front of the White House and then just randomly start shooting, thinking that somehow, some way, if they were to do that, they're going to hit the president. The lunacy that goes into the mindset of people it doesn't make any sense. Apparently, there was a civilian passing by that was shot as well. Don't know the full depths of what ultimately happened there, but at this point, they're not really good at trying to convince people that what you're seeing is anything other than a false flag. You know, this lady, as you can see, she kind of recognized immediately what was going on and immediately dropped to the ground. I don't think that these individuals are in on whatever it is that's going on. But what I do believe is there is a reason that we question everything that comes out of this particular administration. I mean, we should be questioning anything that comes out of any administration, but the psyops that come out on the regular from this administration knows no bounds. It really doesn't. I don't care if it's fake. It probably is. Why is it being done? That's what matters. Are we really going to be ending this war with Iran, or are they going to attack this weekend, which is what everyone has been suggesting is going to happen? As Pirate Justin says, Daddy's home, Shabbat Shalom. Maybe that's what's happening. We are not going to question whether or not Israel controls this country, because we've already seen what happens when you choose to go up against Israel, as Thomas Massie did. They're not hiding it anymore. So I would imagine that whatever they're trying to do, throw the phone. Whatever the reasoning is, pay attention to what the high-ranking MAGA influencers are saying, because that'll give you a pretty good indication as to where this is going and whether or not you should be alarmed. I know I'm alarmed because I always think that whenever something so obviously predetermined ends up happening, we're working on it, buddy. We're working on it. That's what we're here to do. Well, whatever that agenda is, JD, I can't really say, because this just doesn't seem logical. You know, what is the plan? What is the next logical step after a shooting in front of the White House? More lockdowns in DC? Probably. But we've been heading towards a police state for the longest time anyway, so this shouldn't surprise anybody. Guys, if you haven't smashed that like button yet, please make sure that you do. We are now starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time, as Jen has suggested I do. We will test this out, see if it makes any difference. Plus, it's the summer, or we're entering the summer months, so going later probably makes sense. Also, because it's light out, and when the weather's nice, most people would like to take advantage of it. So if you haven't hit that like button yet, please do. Well, yes, we're totally going to have a big, beautiful fence. I always wanted one, and now I'm going to get one. Let me tell you, when Jen and I were in D.C., the one thing that really stuck out, which often does, is when you walk by the White House and you see just how absolutely insane the perimeter now is. I mean, you used to be able to walk on the White House lawn. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And yes, I noticed that Trump went to Rockland County to campaign for Lawler, Mike Lawler, that is 30% Orthodox Jewish community, and yet none in the audience. Why? I don't know. I was very unhappy to see that Jackson Dart, who is the quarterback of the New York Football Giants, my team, was there to introduce Trump at this event. Again, he's a Mormon from Utah. It's not a surprise. But I really wish he would, we often say that people shouldn't be involved in politics. I mean, at the end of the day, I want people to just show their true colors. Show who you are, show where you stand, and let the chips fall where they're going to fall. I think we're much better off living in a world of transparency, even if it's with people who you do not necessarily agree with. And yes, I noticed that James Fishback, there is an event that is coming up for homeschooling in the state of Florida. And Fishback was the only candidate for governor who was uninvited, because of his opinions about Israel. And apparently there is a major pro-Israel group that is a major sponsor of this event. So that should not come as any surprise. And so if you haven't smashed that like button yet, guys, please do, because we've got a huge opening story to get to. I mean, I know obviously we have to acknowledge what's going on in DC at the moment, if only for a moment. But this particular segment goes out to pretty much everybody that I've ever been affiliated with in politics, that knows me, that knows how I feel about Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I have never hid my feelings. I have always felt that she represents the very worst of everything in politics today, everything that ultimately led to the acceleration of the demise of our empire, which again, inevitably was going to happen, but at the rate that it's happening now, the mask was ripped off as a result of her shenanigans as the DNC chair, among many other things that she's done as a federal representative. But I want to be very clear that there is a lot to question here about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who has made a decision, which should not come as any surprise to anybody, that she is running for Congress again. But she's not just running for Congress anywhere. She is now carpet bagging her way into one of the two Black predominant districts in South Florida. That would be Florida's 20th congressional district, which she does not live in, obviously. But she wants to move there if she wins and represent. But Lord knows her, knowing her, that if she does win, she wouldn't move there. She just does what everybody else does, or at least certain ones will do, which is legislate from a distance. I'm going to show you her campaign ad. We will discuss it, and then I will show you my Substack that I wrote in response to this. So here we go.
I've fought for the people of Broward County my whole adult life. You've always been able to count on me to deliver results for our community.
Debbie knows how to deliver results.
If you know Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you know that Debbie does not back down from a...
Okay. So we're going to have to stop and go with this, because I want people to understand who these people are and why they have come out in support of her. We're going to start right here with Emma Collum. I don't name this person, but I'll name her now, because of the fact that she has decided that she wants to get involved in this. So Emma Collum is a person who, those that know me know that I cannot stand over woke liberals. I can't stand them. These are people that don't actually have real problems. These are people who live comfortably and have problems. And so Emma Collum is one of those people who desperately wants to be relevant in politics. She couldn't win an election, multiple elections, but she finds other ways to be involved. She gets involved with the Women's March, among other things. But the thing that she did that was so very, very telling was that when Jen first ran for Congress, starting in 2019, going into 2020, Jen was at an event in which an incident happened that was innocent. It was a mistake, but it was innocent. There's no malice, there's nothing intended. And so Emma and her friends, her mean girl cohorts, decided to try to bury Jen where she stood, make her out to be a racist, a bigot, somebody who has no business representing the Black community, and shouldn't know, doesn't know her place. So there was that, and that went on for a while. And lo and behold, when Jen and I, well, it was me personally, because I was assisting editing the congressional campaign video that I wanted to put out for Jen. And in the B-roll footage, Emma Collum happens to be in the clip for less than a second, maybe half a second. She saw the ad and she threw up a conniption fit, the likes of which only a Zio scumbag in South Florida could possibly do. And so she decided to start going after Jen, and all of her friends decided to start going after her. And then I confronted her and I said, that wasn't Jen, it was me. I did it. You want to come after me? And sure enough, she and her not so sane ladies decided to start harassing me and start messaging me and this, that, and the other thing. And I said, would it make you happier if we clipped out that small piece where you are in? And she said, yes, it would. So this is a person who claims to represent the interests of the Black community because, she's over woke and all that. Fast forward to what happened shortly thereafter. She comes out in support of Wasserman Schultz for Congress, full-throated, and has been on her ever since. Now, fast forward to about, a few months ago, where the unfortunate tragedy of Nancy Mateer, who's the vice mayor of Coral Springs, was assassinated by her husband. This is somebody that Emma attached herself to very tightly, was very convinced that she was going to Congress, and was going to either work on Capitol Hill or work in a congressional office here in South Florida. Lo and behold, and guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. If you have not hit the like button yet, please do it. I cannot ask you for anything else. I'm not asking you for money. I'm asking you for a like. It's not much to ask. If you haven't hit it, hit that like button. Please hit it. Thank you. So, what are you saying, Emma? Now you're back to supporting Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Now you're in a campaign video saying that you support Debbie Wasserman Schultz? But not just any place. You're supporting Debbie Wasserman Schultz in a predominantly Black district in which 80% of the voting electorate in the Democratic Party is Black. Couldn't wait. Nope. Had to come out and show her true colors. And boy, oh boy, did she show them. So here's to you, Emma. Now everybody will know exactly what an overwoke liberal Karen looks like in South Florida politics. There it is. And I dare you to say anything to me. I dare you.
Fight. She is a person that is for all people.
Debbie's always been there to fight for us.
Oh, Mike Ryan. Oh, Mike. Sunrise is one of those areas that is predominantly people of color. But yet he's the mayor. He's the big shot. And he's got ambitions. I'm friends with members of his family. As an Irishman, you know better than this, Mike. I don't know what political opportunism you think you're going to get from this or how this is going to benefit you in some way. But bad look. Very bad look.
Stand up against all forms of hate and make sure we're best represented in Congress.
And I waged these battles when our values were on the line, all while raising a family, beating cancer, and answering President Obama's call to lead our party.
Before we get to this numbnuts, there is never a time in her political career where she does not talk about the fact that she is a cancer survivor. She is a multi-breast cancer survivor, and yet she has been on Capitol Hill for almost 22 years, and she has voted against universal health care every single term she's been in Congress. Now, you might wonder why would she vote against single-payer health care every time she's on Capitol Hill? It's pretty obvious. She is heavily funded by big alcohol and big pharma. Southern Wine and Spirits, looking at you guys. And there isn't a private insurance, big pharma organization that she will not take that money from. Hence why she believes in medication and sustenance for me, not for anybody else. And of course, she has to invoke Saint Obama every time. Here's a little secret, ladies and gentlemen. Obama hates her guts. Wasserman Schultz worked diligently behind the scenes, and we're going to get to that in the Substack, to basically brand Obama an anti-Semite. You see, she wasn't removed from the chair of the DNC in 2016 because she all of a sudden wasn't somebody who was good for the party. It turns out that they first tried to get her out of there less than a year after she took over in 2012. She was a colossal disaster from day one. Still going along with this nonsense, but she's got more to say.
Debbie has for many years been a strong ally of the LGBTQ community.
Alfredo Oliveira, I believe, was a lifelong Republican. I don't give a shit about any of that, honestly. To me, it doesn't matter. Party nonsense all the sides, so stupid. But this is a person who is very good friends with Emma Collum, who's part of that group, who decided to sabotage, basically attempt to ruin a good friend of mine's life to become the head of the Broward Democratic Party. A person who should have been the head of it, who was a labor leader, got sandbagged by him and his people on Debbie's behalf to make sure that he got the position because Debbie needs protection. And the other person was not going to protect her. So as I said, Debbie has ruled with an iron fist for over 30 years. And Alfredo Oliveira is 1,000% a yes man for Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
And the Hispanic communities.
Debbie has walked the walk.
She's able to get things done. And in a country where unity has become a real problem.
Arlene Schwartz, as you might imagine, is a Zionist Jewish woman who has been in elected office as well in Broward County for over 35 years. And she is the only person who isn't Black or Hispanic on the city council in Margate. And of course, being that this is in the congressional district, she is supporting Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But no stereotypes here. None. Definitely not. I'm overthinking it, of course.
And that no one does that. She is a rare person.
Today, I'm announcing my candidacy for re-election in Congressional District 20. because we cannot let Trump destroy Broward County's power.
Having somebody with that experience right now in this turbulent times is so important.
Louis Reinstein is one of the most deliberate advocates for the state of Israel. He displays the Israeli flag on his property. He is a full-blown supporter of their cause and everything they do. And even though I have had cordial conversations with him, October 7th changed everything, and you got to see who these people really are and what they really believe. Plantation, Florida, unfortunately, is a hotbed for Zionist Jews, and he's one of their leaders. And he don't hide it. So it's not a surprise that he is fully on board with Wasserman Schultz running in a predominantly black district.
Republicans couldn't care less about lowering your health care, gas, or grocery bills.
Neither can you, you fuck.
But I'll use all my seniority and clout in Washington to continue to make our lives more affordable.
You see, for somebody that has been in federally elected office for over 20 years and has been in elected office in Broward County for almost 35 years, the life of the average person in that area has gotten progressively worse since she's been in charge. In fact, because she is so toxic to the political environment, you can imagine how much she has ceded ground to the GOP, not just in South Florida, of which there's plenty, but throughout the entire state. So when you wonder what exactly it was that kind of shifted things off course, I am going to take you guys back in time, and probably should find the photograph. That would definitely help. But let's finish this out, and then we'll get to what I think was a huge moment in a shift in Florida politics.
And make Broward a safer, less expensive place to live, raise a family, and retire. Some people do a lot of talking. I work hard to deliver results. We can do this together.
Doesn't matter what the issue is, Debbie Wasserman Schultz delivers.
Her authenticity, her connection to the community.
The mother of this lady, Brenda Snipes, is somebody who was in charge of voting in Broward County. She had to resign because she was a crook. And so the fact that her daughter would come out and say this is chef's kiss. You know, when we talk about members of the black community that basically are, you know, dancing on a string for the white man, this is one of those people. And so I am not surprised. In fact, I think it's very telling that this is how you kind of get it. Debbie doesn't really have a lot of allies, despite what people want to believe. Most people don't like her. Most people, you know, kind of like with Israelis, that's how I would describe it. It's kind of like with Israelis. Mind you, this is the first second black person in the entire video. And it's a political operative that's doing it. I want to be very clear that much like Israelis, her support is manufactured. It's not real. People don't genuinely like her, although I would say maybe somebody like Arlene Schwartz probably likes her. But overall, these are people that are looking for their next opportunity. And they believe Debbie is still the horse to back in order to get it. It's no different than people that back Trump and think he's the horse that's going to get them to the next level. That's a very similar problem that we see on the regular. So let's finish it up.
Into the community.
She stands up for our country. She tells it like it is.
We need strength. We need experience.
Anna, I love you, but I'm going to deal with you when I see you next.
And Debbie Wasserman Schultz is that person.
She has humanity. She has experience.
Now, if you want to talk about the one person in this clip that has actual power, this is it. Dean Trantillis is the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, and he has a lot of power, a lot of wealth, a lot of influence within particularly the LGBTQ community. He is a gay man. And there is something to be said, like all class. You see, we have to constantly remind people that when it comes to class, that supersedes everything else. And when somebody like Dean Trantillis is saying that somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz is good for the community, he's talking about the affluent gay community, of which she has been very good. They love her. I'm not going to say that they don't. However, in terms of how she legislates, in terms of what she's done to hurt this country, oh, she is as bad for anybody who's in a vulnerable community as you can possibly be. But again, Dean Trantillis drives a Bentley. So I don't think that this is a guy who's struggling too much, who's going to have a problem with her being the congresswoman. In fact, it's what he prefers.
Has honor and she has vision.
I'm telling you, folks, get her elected. We do not want to lose Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
We can't get rid of her fast enough. And that is why I'm calling upon all of you to recognize that this lady has to go. So, Colin, if you could please pull up the Substack that we posted earlier, I would like to read this to you guys because I wrote this last night. I really put a lot of work into this, but I want to remind you. I want to pull up that picture real quick. There was a moment in Florida politics where it became obvious that as long as Wasserman Schultz is in Florida politics, the Democratic Party would continue to suffer mightily, and now is at a point where it simply cannot recover. They have to carpetbag two candidates in, both of them former Republicans, including Lindman, who's running for the Senate, who is an absolute nut job if there ever was one. There was a time where the Bernie wave had a moment where it could have had something in the state of Florida. Even though I don't trust Andrew Gillum and never did, he obviously had a lot of problems. I suspected that he was in it for the career, and that's where it was going to go. However, he probably would have done a few decent things had he gotten to the governor's mansion that obviously Governor DeSantis has chosen not to do. I don't know if he would have stood up to Israel in a way that clearly DeSantis is not. But I will tell you that his primary run in 2018 was a fantastic campaign. Did a great job. It was a shock when he won, particularly because of Gwen Graham, Bob Graham's daughter, and Phil Levine, Mr. Jeffrey Epstein's good friend and mayor of Miami Beach, but a very rich and powerful man. And then you had the mayor of Tallahassee, Andrew Gillum, who shockingly won the statewide race. And this became a hotbed election where it was suspecting that maybe it could be pulled off for the first time in many years, that a Democrat could win statewide. And he came close, but he lost. And since Yes But No understands the assignment, this was the photo that, in my opinion, cost Gillum the election. If ever there is a photo that defines a moment, and this is 8 years ago that this happened, he decided to be an Uncle Tom, get on his knees in the synagogue at Century Village in Pembroke Pines, and sit with that little hat on his head next to her and let everybody see it. And this got picked up everywhere. This got picked up in the Sun Sentinel. This got picked up in the Miami Herald, the Miami New Times, all over the news. I believe the Young Turks covered it. So it did the following things. It pissed off the progressives because now they're like, okay, well, clearly he's not on our side anymore if he has to do this. The Republicans got motivated because they could never, ever, you can never give them enough juice, no pun intended, without having to show them Wasserman Schultz, which they did. And lo and behold, in my opinion, she costs him the election. It was a razor-thin margin. Gillum only lost the race by, I think, 13,000 votes. And in the state of Florida, that's a very, very tiny margin. Like a paper-thin margin. You don't think there were enough people that were pissed off at him getting involved with her? That maybe this wasn't such a good idea? And maybe that's the reason why? I think it had something to do with it. Just a little bit. So I wrote this piece last night, basically detailing Debbie's trajectory and how she ended up here in a situation where she's not fully in control of her circumstance. But that doesn't mean that she isn't going to employ her old tactics that she's been using forever. It doesn't mean that it won't work. So she's going to try. Colin? Debbie Wasserman Schultz's reign of terror looks to be ending finally. And so as you can see, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's choice to run in District 20 in the District 20 race is raising controversy. For someone who has been in political office for 34 years, Debbie Wasserman Schultz has never had to fight for her position. In 1992, she was bequeathed the Florida State House seat by the exiting incumbent and new Congressman Peter Deutsch. And if you think Wasserman Schultz is a Zionist nutcase, look up Peter Deutsch, whom she had worked for as a legislative aide in Tallahassee since 1988. History repeated itself in 2004 when Deutsch bequeathed his congressional seat to DWS as he pursued a Senate run. Upon her arrival in D.C., Wasserman Schultz wasted little time fortifying her ascension by aligning herself with the most influential power brokers on Capitol Hill. These power brokers included Big Sugar, Big Alcohol, military-industrial complex, and of course the Israel lobby. In just her second congressional term, she was tapped by Hillary Clinton to be her campaign co-chair for her presidential run. By her fourth congressional term, she was named DNC chair. A carefully curated career path for a ruthlessly ambitious politician was underway, with sights set on much loftier expectations. The DNC chair had proven to be a reliable springboard for statewide office for previous chairs Ed Rendell and Tim Kaine in Pennsylvania and Virginia, respectively. DWS, however, was thinking even bigger. Despite the Obama administration's multiple attempts to remove her as DNC chair for misappropriation of funds, look into how much money she liked to spend on herself, particularly when it came to primping and clothing, and, well, you get the idea. Hiring friends and family, consultant class run amok, and losing over 1,000 seats nationwide during her tenure through the 2014 midterms. DWS had laid the foundation for what led to the systemic rupture of the party infrastructure the Democrats have not recovered from since. By deliberately depleting the DNC funds, DWS brokered what can only be described as an unholy alliance with the Clintons and their foundation to wipe the party debts clean and make funding solvent once more. The trade-off was simple: clear the field for Hillary to waltz to the nomination and presumably the presidency, and in return, be rewarded a cabinet position that was long rumored to be Secretary of State. The rise of Bernie Sanders as a presidential contender via his economic left populist message was so unexpected that the behind-the-scenes maneuvering by DWS to stop it proved to be so blatant a blatant miscarriage of justice. As WikiLeaks proved, her egregious interference on behalf of Clinton against Sanders has been viewed by objective observers as a rigged primary. Despite her ouster as chair at the DNC convention in Philadelphia, the party split gave Donald Trump the opening he needed to win the presidency and change the course of this country's trajectory forever. Since then, DWS has been on a downward spiral marred with endless amounts of controversy that may finally end her highly controversial career. When Unusual Whales revealed her as the top insider trader on Capitol Hill 2 of the previous 3 congressional terms, it would help explain the exorbitant spending habits DWS had as DNC chair. To put it simply, she enjoyed the finer things in life that the power of a federal seat can afford. While she has always been known as an unabashed Zionist, She has been unequivocal in her support for Netanyahu and the Israel First cause since October 7th, 2023. This has included peddling and Hasbara lies about Palestinians, constant diplomatic trips to Tel Aviv, deeper financial alignment with the Israel lobby led by AIPAC, voting yes on every spending and weapons bill for Israel, and being a top surrogate for Netanyahu on Capitol Hill. It is no revelation to declare that Wasserman Schultz has been a net negative on the Democratic Party, much less American politics, for over a generation. As the Queen of Broward County, DWS has always put corporate special interests ahead of her constituents, especially the most vulnerable. Despite being a breast cancer survivor, of which she constantly touts as some sort of political credential, DWS has been heavily funded by big alcohol and big pharma throughout her career. As a result, she has voted no on universal health care every term she's been in Congress. She has also enjoyed endless amounts of campaign contributions from payday lenders and private prison interests, often cited as some of the most egregious causes of poverty in the school-to-prison pipeline in the U.S. And finally, she's one of the most heavily funded congressional members by the military-industrial complex, led by Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and General Dynamics. She has voted yes for every war, surge, and military spending bill since entering Congress. No population has suffered more from her decision making that I'll read this one more time. No population has suffered more from her decision making than the Black community. Until now, DWS has managed to avoid the one pitfall that occasionally prevents political life from remaining in office until they die: redistricting. Now she's the carpetbag into FL20. An 80% Black district, instead of running in her current, more competitive district in a blue wave year. This is being done for one simple reason: the path of least resistance. Like every other obstacle in her career, the calculus is Debbie's modus operandi. Flood the district with millions, get everyone in line through various forms of intimidation and bribery, and cruise to victory. Yet for the first time, the always reliable Black voter is sending Wasserman Schultz a clear message: your time in elected office is coming to an end. From State Senator Chevron Jones to the Broward County Black Democratic Caucus, the rejection of her attempt to represent their community over a Black representative has been swift and brutal. I often wondered if the opportunity to retire DWS at the ballot box presented itself, would the people of South Florida take a stand or continue to be subjugated by this devout minion of Zionism and corporate cronyism? From early observation, it appears that the people have finally had enough of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. May this come to fruition at the ballot box in 3 months. Lots of work lies ahead. I don't know what's going to happen, but I applaud those that have stepped up, like Senator Jones, Ashley Gant, Michelle Rayner. Obviously, I wish the best to Sheila McCormick. I'll say the same for Elijah Manley, for Luther Campbell. If you're running in this race, be very clear about what is at stake. Do not let this woman get this seat, because if she gets it, she will die in it. So keep that in mind when you think about checking your ego at the door and who's in the best position to win. I'm not saying you have to consolidate this minute, but in the next 2 months, you better. Do not take any chances. This woman has to be put down like the rabid dog she is and out of politics forever. You have a shot. Don't fuck it up. Let's simmer the mood down a little bit, have a little fun. So it was brought to my attention that I got covered by American I got to get the name of this channel. American. Colin, what's the name of this group? Do you have it? This is the ultimate. Jen insisted that I do this because it's considered like the ultimate form of meta. It's not Saturday Night Live. This is more entertaining, trust me. And if you haven't hit that like button yet, guys, please do. We're still getting our butts handed to us, but we're almost at 400 live viewers. I know I sent this to you. One second. I got to get the name of this. I want to do this right. Academic Agent. Thank you, Jen or Colin, whoever that is. So, Academic Agent decided to cover our channel. And now I'm going to give you the ultimate form of meta. We've never done this before, but this is a picture in picture in picture, and I hope you enjoy it. So, I don't know why my screen is going cuckoo caca right now, but hopefully this is not a result of what happens when I pull up this video. So, here we go.
So let's have a watch of Revolutionary Change then. And if you haven't checked out this channel, you know, even though he's a leftist, it's kind of watchable, kind of low-key interesting channel.
Thank you for the kind words. And that is why Candace Owens has been doing a real service for so many of us out there that wish for those with a massive platform to use it. Those are two good-looking guys right there. It's blowing my mind. For genuine good in the world. We try to do the same here, but they have buried our channel in a corner. And that's why you look at the stream tonight and you see the numbers we're getting, even though these are very key talking points right now, very key to.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. That I noticed that this is 125,000 subscriber channel, and you know, I recommend you check them out. And the views on this video were, I think, like around 1,000, and it'd been out a day or so. He usually does better numbers than that, so interesting. But this is it. This is what I love. Look, she's in a frame. He's in a frame. I'm in a frame.
And now you're in a frame in my frame. So that's 4 frames. That's a lot. Welcome to our version of Inception. Hope you like it.
The whole video now is 3 multiple mirrors. So I'm all about that meta, the meta of the meta.
Let's not forget, Little Ben and the Daily Wire gave a $1 million check to TPUSA the day after Charlie's assassination.
That is so dark, isn't it? Straight in there. The guy has just been shot. Straight in there with $1 million. Now you could say, oh, well, this was for charity. It's for charity, right? This was a good cause, the grieving widow. It's so naked and transparent. It's almost insulting. So I'm actually glad, as much shit as Candace Owens gets, and I'm not a big Candace fan. You know, I'm not like, I didn't really watch Oprah Winfrey or stuff like that, so I don't really watch Candace Owens. It always strikes me as kind of like political Oprah or something like this. But if she's done any good, it is in absolutely wrecking this grift, absolutely destroying the grift that Shapiro and Erica Kirk and the others wanted to get going, how they wanted to use Turning Point USA. It has been destroyed. He's right about this, and I'm kind of glad about it.
And lo and behold, they became, I mean, they were always, in the last several years, as influential amongst the youth in the Christian Zionist movement as you could possibly imagine. But now it became 24/7 as a result of them taking the capital directly from the Israel lobby, because they understood, well, we have a choice. We can slowly watch this thing morph down into something much more regional and small, or we can attempt to keep our empire going by taking all of the Israel lobby money we can get our filthy, dirty, corrupt, possibly murderous hands on. And so they decided, yeah, that was worth it.
I mean, if he really is being shadow banned, it's probably because he's a little bit no holds barred, as we've seen on this video. But you know, and suppression is real. It is real.
You're damn right it's real, and that's why we're saying what we're saying. That's why we have to say what we're saying. If we don't, then why are we doing this? I'm talking to myself in the past tense. I have traveled backwards through time to let myself know that I am being used in a metaverse capacity by this bloke. And I am responding to this bloke, responding to me, responding to Candace, responding to Erica. Did you catch all that? Yeah, well, Rach, let's get him on. I'm standing. We'll finish it up. Oh, I think that's it. He's in the UK. Yes, he is in the UK. As we've said, I mean, look, it's kind of like with the Tabernacle. You know, he goes on really late, and it makes sense, you know, to do these things at a time that makes sense for them. But that's the thing about doing a live stream. If we pre-record, it's easier to talk with people around the world. And there are times where we would make exceptions. Like if Rania Kalik was available in Lebanon, we would say, okay, whenever, you just let us know. And then there are other times where, you know, we have to do this because we don't have any other choice. Or we say, it's our show, this is when we do it, and, you know, we do our business that way. It may not be ideal, but it is what it is. That is Hotel Lobby Me. That's when I was in California. And there was another time when I was in Las Vegas. I'm going to be traveling a lot this next month, 6 weeks. So you'll be seeing me hopping around. I'll be in New Jersey very soon. I will be doing how many shows in Jersey? I will be doing Thursday and Saturday. Thursday and Saturday, I will be live from New Jersey. And there will be more traveling to come. But that was an interesting example of, you know, why we address the significance of not just what Candace has been covering, but also the significance of the Turning Point USA, what they've been up to. And it goes without saying that whenever there is a temporal prime directive, I will say this. I am going to continue to invoke the name Little Ben Shapiro as early and as often as I can. Because that was the consensus of what the entire clip was about. His funding through the Daily Wire of Turning Point USA. But now both organizations are falling apart. And unfortunately, Little Ben is not having the best time right now. Apparently, things are really going down in a negative way. So here he is bitching about it.
Territorial grievance mongering is a sexy, sexy idea. It is. It's great. Because it means that you're never responsible for your own actions. It means that your life sucks and you're single and you're in your mom's basement and you're fat and all these things. But there's nothing you can do about that because of the Jews. Right? Your incurable gingivitis is because of Bibi Netanyahu. And if you watch enough hours of Nick Fuentes, you know, talking about cat boys or whatnot, then eventually you'll end up more successful, or at least you'll feel better about yourself. And to a lot of people, again, It's not a left-wing, right-wing thing. It's just it's an envy thing. You know, when people feel bad about their lives, they look for a place to blame. And when there's a conspiratorial group of people with a large platform who are going to give you a place to blame, then it's easy to go there.
As if he could not fulfill every negative stereotype about Jews in less than a minute, he made sure to get it in there. So great job, Benny. You really gave it your all to make sure that if there was any doubt that people hate Jews because of the fact that you believe that as Zionists, you are superior to everyone else, and everyone should just cope with the fact that you have rigged our economy, you have rigged our political arena, you have rigged the global system. But everyone should just cope and accept. Or scapegoat, right? Scapegoat. No. Fact is, you are a genocidal maniac. You're an overcompensator. I don't know what the hell that thing is on your face, but it ain't a beard. It looks like it was pasted on. Same with your eyebrows. Trying to make yourself look like you hit puberty when clearly you haven't, because your voice still can't get above the second or third decibel. And yet, despite all the money and power that you've enjoyed over the past decade plus, you're still a small little man who likes to get punched in the face by his own punching bag. Something along those lines. But oh boy, he ain't done.
I agree with you, but I also, again, I want to say that there is some truth to what happened to the white male in America, which is that...
Oh, of course, this wouldn't succeed if you didn't have a grain of truth to build upon. No conspiracy theory can succeed without some tiny grain of truth, however tiny. The idea on sort of the woke right is that white male Christians were uniquely put upon in the Obama and Biden era. And there's truth to that. That's true. But then the sort of effect of that was to claim that they are incessantly put upon, and that all the systems of American society are built against them, and the people who benefit from those systems are the people who created those systems in order to hurt white males. And that's not true. There are specific policies that have been done away with in large part by the Trump administration that did target white Christian males. But the idea that has been inculcated by the woke right in the same way, and this is why James calls it the woke right as opposed to the woke left, is because the basic idea of the woke left is all the systems of America are inherently corrupt and terrible, and all of your personal problems can be attributed to the people who succeed in the system. So things like private property or the Constitution or free speech, those are all merely guises for political power being utilized by venal people to lie to you.
It has been proven more often than not that it pays to be Jewish in the United States, especially if you're connected. And if you're Zionist, oh boy, are you in a good position. You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's a thing called the banking system. And in the banking system, it pays to be of a certain makeup. And when you are of a certain makeup, there are certain advantages that you are afforded, like loans, like small business opportunities, investment opportunities that very few others ever hear about or know about. And yet you often wonder, how is it that certain communities just can never get out of their own way and other communities always succeed? And when you talk about the white male in the United States, the white Christian male, as you're putting it, no, you see, little Ben Shapiro, this is the reality of the system that is here today. You see, men in particular have a certain drive to succeed. And one of the things that ultimately gets to the psyche of a man, let's say a white man, is that not only is he not able to succeed within this broken, rigged, capitalist system that we're under, but that he is in no way, shape, or form ever going to amount to anything economically like his father or perhaps even his grandfather were able to achieve. And that is a burden that no matter what culture you come from is often seen as a negative. It is often seen as a reason to look at yourself in a negative light. It's considered a character flaw. You're just not working hard enough. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't dig deep enough. And yet nobody wants to talk about the real fundamental foundational problems within our economic and political system. Sure as hell ain't going to hear from this piece of shit. Why would he ever say it? He's benefited from the broken system. The guy lives in a multi-million-dollar home in Boca Raton, Florida. He is connected to the highest echelons of our government here and in Tel Aviv. He hates you more than you can possibly imagine. Not just because you could probably screw his wife better than he can, but because he is somebody who fancies himself as some type of a man with masculinity in his blood, and he doesn't have any. But he's not a homosexual. He's not a, he's a guy with small dick energy. He is an overcompensator. You know how woke liberals are overcompensators? Well, this Zionist douchebag is an overcompensator if there ever was one. He is thumbing the eye of each and every one of us as we struggle to live in this system. And he's living high on that hog. And yet, he ain't stopping. You know why he's not stopping? Because he's losing. He's losing. They're all losing. It doesn't matter that Thomas Massie was defeated. If anything, it just proves our point. It proves how far they have to go to maintain their fiefdom, a fiefdom that's dying. And it's not dying fast enough. The good news is Shapiro can only lose people. He can't gain more. This twit of a person, as long as he's talking, will continue to bleed support, continue to bleed money, continue to bleed influence. But as I said, he ain't done.
And create false consciousness in you. And it's very easy to just, say the same thing about Jews. That's why he calls it again, it's the term that he uses is totally correct.
Here's another question for you, again, talking about the woke right, but something even more sinister. People like Megyn Kelly. Another one that I couldn't foresee. It's and it really was Tucker Carlson who framed this. Well, I'm just asking a question. Right? And then what happened was she started saying things like, "I can't even be critical of Israel."
Well, that's the get out of jail free card. You understand?
All right. So can you explain that?
Okay. So I can't even be critical of Israel is the get out of jail free card online. So to take the example of Megyn Kelly. So Megyn, you may remember that Megyn and I are in a bit of a tiff right now.
I can't punch little Ben Shapiro in the face, so I will let the punching bag do it for me.
Take offense to me, Paul. Didn't you say you're hanging here all day, you're higher than me, you're better than me? Yeah, well, I don't miss you. You're not. I'm a father. I can think that you are not better than me at all. Yeah, I'll keep you.
You have to understand, I'm in a little bit of a tiff right now. A little bit of a tiff with Megyn Kelly. Did you hear what she said about me? Oh my God. Totally disrespectful. That blonde bimbo. How dare she talk bad about me, little Ben Shapiro? He may be on the conservative side of politics, but he's part of that neoliberal class of people. He's part of that class. That's why he goes to these events. That's why he's invited. The well-read Jewish Zionist, always welcome. Always. No matter where you are on the political spectrum, always welcome. They love Ben. Bret Stephens of the New York Times, I bet you they go out together. He's got more to say.
this tiff emerged not because of Israel, having nothing to do with Israel. This tiff emerged because Megyn Kelly decided that she would not under any circumstances say a negative word about Candace Owens slandering the wife of a dead man, Charlie Kirk. That is why this happened. Okay, I remember it because I was there. Right? We were on a stage, and this literally came up, and we were talking about Tucker Carlson and Tucker Carlson's insane conspiracism, and she was asking why I couldn't be friends with Tucker, and I said I'd be happy to go fishing with Tucker, but that has nothing to do with whether he is right or wrong on principle. He's wrong on principle, and he says evil things. And I don't understand why you won't criticize him, even if you're friends with him, because that's what friendship very often is actually course-correcting people. And then the question of Candace Owens came up, and I said to her, you know, I don't understand. You say you're not the mother of the internet. I mean, she comments on everything. Why will you not comment on the slander of Erica Kirk by Candace Owens? And for the crime of me mentioning that, apparently the idea is that I only said that because I'm an Israel firster, and why can't she be critical of Israel? You may notice that in that entire narrative, I never brought up Israel. Literally not once.
You don't need to. Anyone who is nuanced in political speak understands what your points are, what you're getting at, and who you support. And your loyalty, 1,000%, is for the state of Israel. On top of everything else, you're a joke. You're annoying. You KVETCH 24/7 like a woman who's on her period. Sorry, ladies. But you are a little bitch who doesn't even look old enough to shave. I mean, congratulations on the youth. Maybe you're drinking children's blood. I don't know. But whatever you're doing, I would be looking into it. As I said, person who doesn't get above a certain decibel level where they're trying to project, like I said, maybe, just maybe, tides are turning. I'd like to believe they are. And so, will Ben continue to spiral? I hope so.
This is the get out of jail free. It's the online get out of jail free card for retards. Let me be clear. This is a retarded idea. When I spoke at TPUSA, making the same point repeatedly, I did not mention Israel one time in that speech. One time. And the only person who I referred to as anti-Semitic was Nick Fuentes, a self-described anti-Semite. And the critique of me by Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and others was, I only did it because of Israel. Understand the reason they're doing that is to misdirect away from their lack of basic moral character and basic moral sense. And of course, to not so subtly imply that the only thing that I care about in the world is Israel, because I'm an Israel firster with dual loyalty and all the usual tropes.
I see you're kind of tired and over it.
It's exhausting to have to, again, it's, you know, I have 4 kids going on 5. And if my fat and all these things.
I truly feel terrible for his kids because they're not asking for it, but they will be 5 psychos in training.
Tropes.
I see you're kind of tired and over it.
Half-year-old continuously insists that candy is a vegetable. And I have to explain over and over and over that candy is not, in fact, a vegetable and does not count as a vegetable. At a certain point, I get tired because it's just a delusional idea. It's stupid. But he's 2.5, and so it's still kind of cute. When you are 55 years old, as Megyn Kelly is, it's a little less cute. When you are Tucker Carlson, and you have been on TV almost as long as I've been alive, then it starts to become a little bit less entertaining and more annoying, actually. And honestly, I have to say, my annoyance has grown with the people who sort of watch this trash and then treat it as though it is worthy of some sort of respect. Because if you can't see through the game, I'm afraid you're the mark.
Well, last I checked, you are losing support, bleeding support in a substantial way, maybe you should advise Debbie Wasserman Schultz in her congressional race. You are, in fact, very close to District 20 now, aren't you, little Ben? Make a hell of a team. But I would tell you, as I look to what the future of this country is heading towards, and it's heading towards an interesting moment. Jen and I have often said that the future of this country, if it is going to get out from under the boot of the Zionist cause, of this broken economic and political system, it is going to come from an America First movement led by those that are armed. And as much as people don't want to hear that necessarily on the left, it's real. And so I listened to what a lot of people said following Thomas Massie's defeat. And you heard from a lot of different places. You obviously heard from the people that are part of the paid MAGA influencer movement. You heard from people that supported him. And then you hear from the one person who, in my opinion, along with Candace, is the true leader of America First right now. That doesn't mean other people will not be a part of that movement. This, to me, is one of the most important statements ever issued by Tucker Carlson. It was so powerful that, dare I say, it was revolutionary in tone and execution.
Have the most aggressive and the most threatening outbreak of identity politics maybe in this country's history. You have the Justice Department endorsing the idea that criticism of foreign nation is potentially a crime. And you have certain states banning it, like Florida, under Ron DeSantis. No, that's a hate crime. You can't criticize that country or our relationship with it. At the very same time, the people encouraging you to go along with this and threatening you if you don't are bragging that everything you're not allowed to say is in fact true. That's all this is. It's a way to make it really clear. Jeffrey Epstein gets to win Powerball somehow. His murderers walk free. We're not even going to investigate it. But you, watch yourself. Watch yourself now. That's exactly what's going on. But maybe the most obvious example of what's going on happened last night. And it wasn't just the fact that Ed Galreen, or whatever the guy's name is, who even knows, who cares? As he won, somebody, and this was cruel, brought a video camera to his, quote, victory party. Now, remember, this is a guy who just beat a 7-term incumbent. And check the numbers on this. It's not that easy to beat an incumbent, a 7-term incumbent who is wildly popular, even by the standards of Republican states. Thomas Massie wasn't just popular, he was wildly popular in his district.
He was the most popular congressman in the United States.
And the election results over the past 7 terms prove that. Look him up. So this guy, Ed, whatever his name is, just wins. And his one campaign promise is to draft your son and send him to Iran, but he wins anyway. How did he win? Well, obviously people were just so thrilled by the idea of a draft that they just lifted Ed Galreen onto their shoulders and carried him across the finish line. And then they all streamed into the victory hall for beers and high fives and maybe some brats. You imagine that must have happened. People woke up one morning and realized their congressman, who we thought was honest and principled and decent, a family man whose 4 children love him, who built his own home, who's the embodiment of the America you thought you lived in, this independent, has self-respect and reverence for God and nature. That's what you thought of him. And you realize, no, he's like a liberal who's actually being supported by the jihadis, who's like some kind of sex criminal, because that's what they told you. We need Ed Galreen, the draft guy. And we're thrilled he got it. Well, let's take a look. Let's take a peek at what Election HQ last night at Ed's victory party actually looked like.
And we saw this constantly in 2016 with Bernie Sanders rallies and Hillary Clinton's rallies. Now, enthusiasm doesn't vote, but it certainly gets a lot more people to vote. And as we've pointed out, when you put that much money into a congressional race, knowing that all you have to do is establish residency in Kentucky within 30 days of the election. We saw what they did in the first Iowa caucus, the Nevada caucus in 2016. They just bust people in from all over the country. You mean to tell me that they didn't do the same thing in Kentucky? That they didn't have 10,000 plus people just fill in mail-in ballots, and that's how it went down? There were like 1,000 people at Massie's victory rally, what it should have been, and 20 people show up to Gallery. I mean, is it possible that there really are that many brain-dead drones out there that are what we've seen in fiction and reality, like 1984, where they just do what Big Brother, or in this case, Trump, tells them to do? Yeah, it's possible. But I also don't think it's possible that there weren't enough people to combat that weren't under that guise to fall for that. So, Tucker's just pointing out reality. So are we.
Covered a lot of victory parties in my life, a lot, more than 10, and some lost parties too. That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. There's no one there. What percentage of the people in that room know Ed Gallroon or are related to him? Are his neighbors, were paid to be there? We don't know the answer. There's nobody there. So how'd this guy win? Well, he won on mail-in ballots. And we'll sort of leave it to online sleuths to determine whether that's legitimate or not. Who knows? Because if you're willing to pour tens of millions of dollars into a Republican primary in the 4th District of Kentucky, you're probably willing to do whatever it takes. And maybe they did. We don't know that. Not alleging it. But we do know that's not what democracy looks like. Democracy is the process by which people express their will, by which they say, this is how we want our country to be run because it's our country. It doesn't belong to Miriam Adelson or Paul Singer or Israel or Big Pharma for that matter, or any other small group of rich people. It's not the plaything of billionaires. That doesn't belong to the oligarchs. It belongs to us. And here's what we want. And you can't ignore us because we're the owners here. And this is a shareholders meeting and we're voting. And when people win in a race like this, there's evidence of it. And that evidence takes very familiar forms. Enthusiasm, joy, and just sheer numbers. Like people show up. They can't believe it. We beat the evil Thomas Massie with his jihadi backers. This is a blow against Islamic Jihad, whatever that is. Islamic Jihad, which along with Hamas is one of the big problems in the 4th District of Kentucky. They've been very, very concerned about Islamic Jihad and Hamas and Hezbollah for a long time in Covington. But anyway, there was no such display. And so it makes you wonder, this election itself, was it another part of the humiliation ritual? Was it a way of saying to the rest of us, people who sort of believed in democracy, it's all fake? We can get a guy whose last name we can't pronounce elected on a platform everybody in America hates because we can, because we're billionaires and you're not. And of course our priorities are not aligned with yours. In fact, we hate your priorities and we hate you.
Tucker is sounding very much like a revolutionary. He's identifying the actual problem, and this is a man who is very wealthy. But there's a difference between being worth a few $100 million, which Tucker is worth. He's legitimately wealthy, if not outright rich. And he's calling out the people who truly control the show. The people that are worth tens of billions of dollars, in some cases, hundreds of billions of dollars. And their intentions, their goals, they're not ours. And don't even get started on Paul Singer and Miriam Adelson. They're just two of the most obvious suspects. There are many culprits out there within that class of people. In reality, Tucker has a minuscule fraction of the wealth of the likes of Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk. The four stooges, if you will. The Zionist cause is very dangerous. And as we are on the precipice of potentially restarting and accelerating this war with Iran for Israel, you really have to ask yourself, why is it that people like Tucker Carlson are the ones that are stepping up and doing what's necessary? Why are there so many others, particularly those in electoral politics, who are afraid to say what really needs to be said? You cannot be afraid to say the word revolution because it is an inevitability at this point. People can't afford to live. Something's going to give. And Tucker is prepared to lead that effort, and that takes a lot of guts.
We're going to do this anyway. Even in Kentucky, we can do it. It's possible that's the message they were sending. Pretty certain, actually. So on one level, this is the saddest moment in a long time. It's not just the death of Thomas Massie's immediate political career, which may be resurrected, one never knows. It's obviously the death of MAGA, whatever that was. But it's also, of course, the end of the Republican Party, as we thought we knew it. The Republican Party of right now bears absolutely no resemblance to the Republican Party we thought we had just elected less than a year and a half ago. None at all. Its parties are completely different. Its slogans are completely different. It is not the same thing. And maybe there's a working majority somewhere of people who support the new priorities of the Republican Party, but the question would be, where is that? Haaretz readers clearly do. They think that was the most important race in America. Amazing that they were following it. But in this country, nobody supports this. Nobody does.
I wouldn't say that nobody supports it. I would say that the overwhelming majority of the populace does not support it. But unfortunately, those that pull the levers of power, they do support it because it benefits them. See the previous conversation with little Ben Shapiro talking about, yes, we know the system sucks for you, but it works for me, and that's what matters. And that's the same thing that the people in positions of power are thinking right now. Throughout history, it is well documented that the level of decadence that certain societies get to before the revolution happens is very similar to the trajectory we're seeing here today. They're daring us to revolt. And we are trying to provide whatever blueprint we can to unite as many people as we can so that at some point we can stand up to this and put a stop to it. And I just want to point out, I don't envision any revolutionary utopia. I'm not a Leninist Marxist. I believe in humanity. And whatever the fuck this system is, it's broken. We do deserve to live in a better world. We do deserve healthcare. We do deserve dignity, education, a meaningful job, not just a job to survive. We deserve clean air and drinkable water and a protected environment and the ability to actually enjoy life. And right now, we don't have that. All we have is a hope and a prayer that the whole thing doesn't collapse on us. But it goes to show you how close we are to a breakthrough, because somebody like Tucker Carlson, who is a very intelligent man, 1000% sees what's happening. He's a student of history. He knows this well. And he understands that no one is safe, not even him. That takes a lot of guts, because man alive, does he have a fine life, and he's always had it. But that's what happens when you make a clear, conscious decision that all the riches and creature and comforts that you have, you can't take them with you. Every man dies, but not every man lives. The great line from Braveheart. And it's true. So what stand are all of us as a consensus going to make? Foundationally, there are wholesale changes that need to happen. We're trying to provide direction. Tucker is as well.
And so that's not all bad. And it's not bad because the one thing we know is that nothing will be the same after this. This is too much. They went too far. This is a victory, but it's likely a Pyrrhic victory, actually. Because we now know, because it's been confirmed, how the system actually works. And no, it's not a democratic system. It bears no resemblance to a democratic system at all. A small number of people who are more concerned about a foreign country than our country decide who gets elected. No, that's not a hateful conspiracy theory. That's a demonstrable fact that they admit. So it's on the basis of that that we can proceed. And by that, I mean the truth. That's the truth. What people whispered about, those crazies on the internet, has now been proven for everyone to see. Nothing will ever be the same again. And you got to think it's going to be a little better, because there will be actual reform. We have gone too far. And so whatever comes next, whether it's in the Republican Party or outside it, is likely to be much more honest and direct and less ashamed. Much more willing to tell the truth, as uncomfortable as it may make some people, because the truth is always worth telling, always.
I want you to listen to this part one more time. Very important. You listen to this part very carefully one more time.
And you got to think it's going to be a little better, because there will be actual reform. We have gone too far. And so whatever comes next, whether it's in the Republican Party or outside it,
you don't hear anybody, whether it's Kyle Kulinski, Hassan Piker, even Cenk Uygur, Crystal Ball, I could go on. You don't hear any of them talking like this. You don't hear any of them saying, whether it comes in the Democratic Party or outside the Democratic Party. But Tucker Carlson is saying, perhaps the Republican Party is not the answer. Perhaps we need a new path. You ain't kidding. We need a new path. And he's going to help lead it.
Is likely to be much more honest and direct and less ashamed. Much more willing to tell the truth, as uncomfortable as it may make some people, because the truth is always worth telling, always. And a politics based on anything but the truth is always poisonous. So yes, this is a low point. Is it the end point? Not at all. It's the beginning.
I've been listening to Tucker Carlson for many years. That may be his best segment I've ever seen. And I want you all to bookmark this. It's not about a savior. This is a collectivization of humanity. Tucker Carlson, as Jen likes to say, is lending his privilege, of which he has plenty. He is putting himself out there in a way that is legitimate. Whatever he chooses to do, and I know there is suspicion that he will run for president, I'm still not convinced that he's going to go down that road. I still think the person who should run for president is Thomas Massie, and I'm starting to get the feeling he's probably going to do it. He will have Tucker's backing, and we will see what happens. But something's got to give. Something's got to give. Unless tens of millions of people want to live in some form of serfdom. I don't see it being Massie and Carlson. I don't want to make any presumptions about two middle-aged white men running for president of the United States, but I think you need a little bit of diversity in there. If Thomas Massie is serious about being president of the United States, and he wants to bridge the divide between the so-called left and right, even though he's libertarian. I've been saying it for a long time. The libertarian position on healthcare is single payer. It's the most efficient way. It's the most effective way to run a healthcare system. And so if you can support somebody that actually has principles, this is why I'm going to constantly throw it in AOC's face against somebody like Massie. Massie believed in something, and he was willing to fight for it. Could you imagine AOC's position today if she fought like Massie and lost her congressional seat and then decided to run for president? She'd have a hell of a shot then of winning, because she'd have been martyred politically. And she would have had the people behind her because she would have proven that she was legitimate. But she's not. She's still trying to do what everybody else is doing. And that is play this stupid game within this broken system that if you kiss enough ass and suck enough dick that you might get there. That doesn't work. It's not going to work ever again. We are entering in a new world. Not a new world order, I hope. But we are entering in this new enlightened age. There's a reason why Teddy Roosevelt is my hero. I don't agree with everything that he did, but that was a man who was willing to die for what he believed in. There's very few that ever show up that feel that way. And right now, I can't look at this through any type of a partisan lens, nor should anybody else. You should be looking at this through the lens of who is going to provide the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, whether or not there's God, so help us all. There's a reason that the truth must come out. Now, I say this because one of the most important stories of the night is a bombshell in the Charlie Kirk story. Now, from day one, Jen and I were convinced that this was an inside job, most likely perpetrated by Israel, and their cohorts along the way that would support their effort. Now, I decided to do a little digging before I address this story with this guy, Dan Merrill. The thing that stood out to us the most shortly after the assassination, that within a matter of hours, they paved over the crime scene, covered it up. We saw it in real time. You know what I didn't realize at the time? was how hard corporate media was going to shut it up and say that, no, this didn't happen. It's a lie. Don't believe your lying eyes. From CNN, September 20th, 2025. Fact check. The fake photos, false claims, and wild conspiracy theories swirling around the murder of Charlie Kirk. Colin, wake up. There's your scene. Yeah, they're really making an effort there. The public murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah, captured in gruesome footage that spread around the world, has set off an avalanche of misinformation, of course. Bogus assertions have been spread on social media by Americans across the political divide and by foreign adversaries. Prominent members of President Trump's administration, meanwhile, have made conspiratorial statements that can't currently be called false. The investigation into the killing continues and more info might well emerge. But that go far beyond the evidence that has so far been made public. Yeah, because not all evidence is made public. There is what the public is allowed to know and then what they can know. And correct, there was no autopsy. But anyway, let's keep scrolling. Soon after, a Utah man named Tyler Robinson was named as the suspect in the killing, some social media users on the political left began claiming he was a donor to Trump. They cited federal election records showing that the Utah man named Tyler Robinson contributed to his presidential campaign. That was a different Tyler Robinson. 22-year-old was charged with murder, had no record of federal election donations. This is a shit rag from CNN talking about this, by the way. Just want to give you an idea of what the general public was reading at the time. Colin, please keep scrolling. Other social media users described that the accused man as a registered Republican. This is also false. Okay, fine. All of that being said, keep scrolling down. Cox and investigators have not directly explained what that means, but in prosecutors' charging documents, paraphrase Robinson's mother as having said that over a year or so, Robinson has become more political and started to lean more to the left, became more pro-gay and trans rights oriented, blah, blah, blah. Got to set up that patsy, or pasty, as Martin Bishop says. Let's keep scrolling. I don't need to read about this patsy. Keep going. Prosecutors have so far charged only Robinson with the murder, and Utah Governor Spencer Cox have said it's clear as Robinson acted alone. Of course he did. Let's keep scrolling. I want to get to where Tyler Lee Harvey Oswald. Good. Good. Colin? White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, the Nazi, said during a Monday appearance on the late Kirk's podcast, in which Miller decried left-wing organizations he claimed are promoting violence, that the Trump administration would channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle those terrorist networks. But Miller didn't explain how any particular organized campaign has supposedly led to the killing or how any terrorist network has been connected to it. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. We've also cast doubt on the text message. Obviously, that's a big deal. The text messages make absolutely no sense. Seems like something that would come directly from the FBI. There is no basis for conspiracies about Israeli involvement. Yeah, of course they would say that. Again, this is the setup for what the general public has to see. Keep scrolling. Conspiracy theorists' claims have extended beyond U.S. borders. Some social media accounts have hinted or flatly claimed that Israel was behind the killing. though he had long been a prominent public supporter of Israel, until he wasn't. There was no evidence to support of the accusation, which has been pushed by entities linked to the government of Iran. Netanyahu described it as insane, false, and outrageous. Of course he did. Some anti-Israel commentators have promoted the false claim that YouTube deleted a video in which Kirk raised questions about Israeli government's handling of the Hamas assault on October 7th. That is not bullshit. We all know he did. He did it on Patrick Betts' Star of David's podcast. Keep scrolling. The man in the white cap and the man in the prosthetic hand were involved. Keep scrolling. Now, we all know that all of this, none of this makes any sense, right? All of it's bullshit. Now, I specifically searched for an article that was supposed to address the pavement cover-up being fake. And it was supposed to be in this article, and apparently they didn't even mention it. So now it's been taken out. And rather than drag it, because I can prove that they've all said, as a matter of fact, if I just look at any of the highlights or any of the subject lines, particularly pertaining to this particular story, you can go to any of these. Does Tyler Robinson's father's own construction company, did they pave over the crime scene? The Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories about the paving over the crime scene are baseless. Charlie Kirk suspect linked to crime scene by DNA, the FBI claims. And finally, this is according to Grok. The claim that Charlie Kirk's crime scene was paved over the day after September 10th, 2025, murder stems from unverified social media posts. However, fact checks and UVU reports indicate no such immediate paving. Site work began around September 15 for grass replacement with no confirmed link or cover-ups. Now, why would you feel the need to put that out there? Why has people been silent for so long, even though we knew that what we saw with our eyes had to be true? We don't have to listen to the chatter when you just see what is right in front of you. And that's why I said, whatever they were intending to do with this conspiracy, with this cover-up, the reason we know what we know is because of amateur video that was at the event, that was able to be uploaded online before they could circle the wagons and collect all the data that they needed. But something always manages to slip through. And here's a gentleman by the name of Dan Merrill telling us exactly what went down.
You think they excavated so much dirt? You think that they were trying to make sure they got any bullet fragments or anything that was in there?
I wasn't looking at it with that lens, dude.
Really?
I wasn't.
It didn't even cross your mind?
It didn't cross my mind. Here's the thing. You were saying stuff on social media. Everybody's saying stuff on social media.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I had been, I got so disheartened with social media because they just spin everything and they talk shit and fear mongering and hate sells. And I didn't want to see it. I knew there was videos out there. Right when I pulled into town when it happened, I Googled it and I saw the video from afar, right, of Charlie getting shot. And I thought, man, I don't want to see that shit. This guy got shot. You see it, he's probably dead or dying, right? I don't want to see somebody murdered, especially a good man, a father and a husband. So I hadn't been on social media. I had stayed away from it. My wife had been on it, and she was a wreck, bro. She was just, all that ugliness was just. So when I got the call, I thought, you better fucking believe it. I'm going to go help.
Despite what Mr. Merrill is saying here, and despite his best intentions, I am not convinced that that was a bullet. I think it was a bomb.
That was all it was. I'm going to go help these guys. He's asking for help. They want to do it right. He framed it in the sense that, hey, we want this to be done right. So that's why I showed up. So I mean, to do pavers correctly, you over excavate, you get rid of the topsoil.
Oh, you do?
You do, 100%. You want to get a good base. And these guys had kind of, you know, there was two guys in charge and a ragtag crew. One of the guys was in charge of a state-owned facility in American Fork, and the other guy was in a maintenance groundskeeper on a facility in Provo. And these are the two guys I'm corresponding with. The first guy, you know, the second guy that I hadn't talked to on the phone basically said, hey, look, we're not talking to anybody. We're not saying anything to the media. He says this is above our pay grade. The FBI and the state, the governor and the FBI, that's what they told me. The governor and the FBI said they want this done by Monday.
And there you have it. If I'm Dan Merrill, I would definitely get yourself a good lawyer and also be prepared to run, because you are implicating the FBI in the cover-up of this assassination. I don't know what possessed him to say something now, why he decided to be quiet about it for what is now, it's about 8 months, 9 months. The thing about trying to pull off an assassination over 60 years after JFK's assassination, almost 60 years after RFK's assassination and MLK's assassination, it's a lot harder to get away with things today. And in the grand scheme of history, we should forever be grateful that Abraham Zapruder existed. Because who knows how the history books would have been written if not for that. There would have been no way of suggesting otherwise. Perhaps the Parkland Hospital autopsy photos might have been revealed. Somebody would have come across it and started piecing it together. But the Zapruder film gives it away. And it was a conspiracy. And it wasn't who they said it was. And the same is true here. Charlie Kirk, it's the same deal. It's not that, oh, wow, the FBI instructed this guy and a handful of others to not only pave over the crime scene, but to have it done within a matter of days. So chop, chop, get it done. So it's, the reaction isn't, oh my God, can you believe this? It's, yeah, it's kind of what I expected. And that is what I expected. That eventually this would come out. And more will come out. Who knows?
And we need to get it done. We're not asking.
Yeah, we need to get it done. One more time.
This is above our pay grade. The FBI and the state, the governor and the FBI, that's what they told me. The governor and the FBI said they want this done by Monday. And we need to get it done. We're not asking.
What I think is going to happen now, this is just my opinion, I could be wrong, but what I think is going to happen now is there's going to be more leaks. That's what's going to happen. More people will speak up. More people who are on the inside who are aware of what's going on, they will speak up. And credit where it's due. I mean, Dan Merrill, like I said, to his detriment, is putting himself in harm's way. But for the sake of doing what is right, you got to tip your hat. He deserves credit for saying what needs to be said. Not that we were in any way, shape, or form surprised, but to verify it, to say, I was at the scene. I know what went down, and I know what we were told and by whom. That's all you need to know. And to those who still are peddling that it was Tyler Robinson who did this, understand who's in favor of truth and justice and who's trying to protect the status quo. And that's really all it's about. Speaking of taking an interesting turn, not one that I think doesn't deserve pushback, because I do think that some of the way this interview was handled was not the best. However, I want to give credit to Candace for interviewing Hunter Biden, who I obviously have no love for, or even respect for that matter. But I do think in the grand scheme of what Hunter Biden was involved in compared to what Trump's Beavis and Butthead sons are involved in terms of financial crimes and things that they were involved in, when you compare Burisma to 1789 Capital, for example, or even Jared Kushner, which we'll get into, listen carefully to what Hunter Biden says. This is a cut-up of some key talking points from their interview. I thought these were the most important.
Idea that you feel unsafe in the United States of America because you disagree with the current administration on a issue that 70% of Americans agree with you on.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stop the wholesale murder of a population in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you think about my father's policy as it relates, I always say to people, you know one thing he didn't do? He didn't greenlight to turn Gaza into a Trump golf course, with the maitre d' being Jared Kushner.
Your father was an avowed Zionist. Your father is the reason Trump got back into the White House. Your father had an opportunity to stop this before it became a genocide, and he chose not to. Do I think your father is as blatant as Trump? No. But again, this is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And it isn't even a question of whether it's his call, because it's not. It was President Blinken's call. And Blinken is connected to Robert and Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein. Still doesn't get talked about to this day. Isn't allowed to get away with that. All the things that the administration did. All the things. She is working nonstop for a ceasefire. How'd that work out? Didn't stop him. But because when shitlib society is in charge, they are able to get away with a lot more, because watching Trump and his cohorts is like watching a slow-moving car crash that is not going to stop. Can't avoid it. Can't ignore it. And President Biden put a lot of people to sleep, like himself. So to try to wash your hands of this genocide, Hunter, and even though Candace is not going to push back on you the way that I would, it is imperative that this is brought up. And I think Candace does a great job, but in this case, I don't think she did. I think he needed to be given. Now, again, they both have an axe to grind with Trump, and I understand that. But make no mistake, Joe Biden is a war criminal that should be tried in The Hague for crimes against humanity. End of discussion.
It's $4 billion in Saudi money.
It's despicable.
Despicable.
Yeah. Despicable, tasteless, indefensible.
And
And
it's not a joke, though,
yes,
is my
and
point.
Jerry, it wasn't a joke, and that is the deal.
And that's what they're doing,
Mhm.
literally doing. And
And
by the
it
way, they're doing it out in the open. I mean, it's not as if they're hiding it in any way.
Mhm.
And you had a problem, not you. Well, you too, but they had a problem with me as being this emblematic emblem of corruption. These guys, okay, Don Jr. got the single largest loan guarantee from the Department of Defense ever handed out of over $600 million for an energy company, a fusion energy company, of which he has zero experience in. Jared Kushner, who's never run a private equity fund, has now a $4 billion private equity fund with 80% of the money coming from the Middle East, of which he continues to raise as he is the ambassador at large on behalf of the Trump administration, not as a political appointee, but simply as a son-in-law of the president.
Mhm.
Hunter Biden was being paid in excess of at least $80,000 a month in compensation from sitting on the board with Burisma. He had no experience. He had no business being there. If you want to measure apples and oranges because you didn't get as compensated as they have been compensated, well, there it is. He's just upset that he didn't grift as much money as the Trumps have been able to do. And I know, personally, I've met one of Trump's son's main benefactors who's involved in 1789 Capital. He is a very rich and powerful man. He actually was very interested in seeing Tulsi ascend up the political ranks. We'll talk about Tulsi on Monday. More things will come out about her resignation. I know Jen will have some things to say about it, as will I. But I'm telling you guys, you really have no idea how high up the ladder these things go, how powerful these people are, how much money, power, and influence they control. You're only getting a small taste of it. A small taste, because Trump and his sons are so transparently evil. They don't care. They're counting on those pardons, those blanket pardons, of which Hunter Biden, your father, sets the precedent on that. Not only did you give blanket pardons to your family, your entire family, including you, you gave it to Fauci. Dr. Fauci is a mass murderer. And I'm not even talking about COVID. You want to talk about a person who caused untold amounts of death due to the AIDS outbreak in the 80s and the methods that he employed? But he skated on that one. You come full circle into COVID, knowing full well that you never made any suggestions about the need to be outdoors, about who really needed to get protection. People that were in vulnerable categories, like those that have diabetes, which was the number one killer if you contracted COVID. But no, because your father and his administration are just as corrupt, maybe more covertly than Trump's, are in bed with private insurance and big pharma, because we are the only developed nation on earth that doesn't have a universal healthcare system. We have a for-profit system. We decided that everybody needed a shot. And not only did everybody need a shot, but they needed boosters. Lots of them. This is all Biden and his administration. But you continue to try to wipe your hands clean, Hunter. Try. It's kind of like when RFK talks about the fact that we are a poisoned nation and that private equity is going to be the death of our country. He's right. He's just the wrong messenger. You are right about what you're saying about Trump and his cohorts, but you sure as shit are the wrong messenger to be saying it.
To come to a peace deal of a war in Iran that they started that has cost the economy billions and billions of dollars for a war nobody wanted, that every president before them, before him, was pressured by the Israelis to get into. And every single one, regardless what you think of them, from Jimmy Carter, through President Reagan, through both of the Bushes, through Clinton, through my dad, said, you're out of your goddamn minds. And here's the reason why. This is what's going to happen. So who benefits right now? You know who benefits? The people that are making trades of billions of dollars on market manipulation that occur.
Insider
And we all know
trading has
it's
been-
literally out in the open. But who's gonna, you know?
We got behind him as the answer to corruption. We thought he was going to be this outsider. You know, he's going to go to DC. He's going to drain the swamp. And then he became the Loch Ness Monster, you know? And so it's like, I don't know what it is about that swamp, but you get swimming in it. And it's like people do this. And yes, it has been for Israel. Not to say that Trump wasn't pro-Israel. Most presidents actually are pro-Israel when they go in there. And if they go anti-Israel, they kind of end up dead.
You know, the old joke is that when you are the first day of the presidency, the first day you walk into that office, you're taken into a private room by the head of intelligence and shown the other angle of JFK's assassination and said, any questions? Well, they're letting you know who's in control. It's not us.
The idea that you feel unsafe in the United States of America because you disagree with the current administration.
Don't get any ideas. I would also say that Candace is still Candace, and she is going to do what she does, which is draw attention, you know, kind of like a shock jock, bring on certain people that will get people to talk, which clearly this did. And as I said, it would have been one thing if, you know, Hunter went on there and was very repentant about all the things that he did. And I'm sure he was to some degree. But as I pointed out, as is the key component to this conversation, why it was important to address it. Hunter Biden, on behalf of his father and their administration, are trying to wipe their hands clean right now of what they did. You will never wipe your hands clean of this genocide, ever. You are more responsible than Trump. That's a fact. Indisputable fact. This was under your watch for almost a year and a half. You could have done something. You did less than nothing. You helped facilitate it, accelerate it. And this is a party that still employs Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Do you know that Debbie Wasserman Schultz in that district she's running in, from the Democratic establishment and all of her corporate donors led by the Israel lobby, she has $2.5 million all ready to play with over the next 3 months. But vote blue, because that's going to save you. As if we need a further reminder of why this whole unholy alliance needs to end, and it needs to end quickly. There is a firm reminder of what these Zios will do, what they will continue to do if we don't stop them. Now, we have been very clear, that Gaza was one part of this. The West Bank, southern Lebanon, Yemen, Egypt, Iran, it goes on and on. And I can play you more clips of Daniela Weiss and them all saying it's totally normal that we do this. As we are in a situation where we're still not relenting on the prospect of World War III, and the prospect of starting up again with Iran is very real. This is what Israel and their citizens do when they see carpet bombing in Lebanon. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I am convinced now more than ever, since Jen has also pointed out that there are different sects within the Jewish community, and the Zios in particular, especially these Ashkenazis. I believe that they wear the tiny hat because it's considered, much like with little Ben, it's a symbol of supremacy. That's why they wear it. Cheering on carpet bombing, cheering it on, knowing the innocents that are dying, knowing what is going to happen to them. And it's as if we needed another reminder of the disposition that the average Zionist has. I want to show you, as stereotypical of a reaction as this is, from an inconvenienced Zio Jewish man. This is so telling on so many levels. It's a firm reminder of why we must disintegrate this relationship as soon as humanly possible. This was at some local DMV in New York. Watch how this man reacts when he realizes that he has to sit with the Goyim for a little while because he's being inconvenienced by not being allowed to get ahead of everybody else.
Your registration.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for too?
Yeah.
All of you?
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. I'm here to renew my registration.
What's the problem?
So what's the problem?
Yeah, what's the issue?
Because this, I never had this before.
What?
Just a lie.
Welcome to the world. It's a lie, sir. Yeah.
It's a lie. Everybody's doing the same thing. So why you make it so difficult? Because I feel like
you don't have to make it so difficult.
I feel people are treating me like I'm a bug.
Sir,
Worse than a bug.
Worse than a bug?
Worse than a bug.
Oh my.
You're lucky that people aren't smashing your face in. Because at this point, everyone knows who you are and knows what you stand for and knows what you support. You know, the bigotry just kind of oozes out of their pores. They can't help themselves. Yes, you have to sit with the plebs for a few minutes. You can't cut the line because you have that tiny stupid hat on your head. You're a human like everybody else. At least I think you are. You might not. You could be a demon. I don't know. But this is a great example of them pulling the veil down and revealing that they fancy themselves as a superior race. And it doesn't matter if they're black or Hispanic or even white like me. What, Irish, German, Irish, white. It doesn't matter. He's chosen. He doesn't have to wait on lines. You should be thankful that he's even in your presence. Maybe some of his chosen blood will rub off on you. I don't know. But this is a man kvetching over nothing. Over the fact that he has to wait a few minutes at the DMV. Why? Because he's not the only person who has to deal with something in their private life. And he truly believes that not only is he entitled, but he's being inconvenienced and that everybody should get out of his way. And in his mind, the way to do it is to not shut up about it. And maybe if he gets annoying enough, they'll just let him cut the line so that he'll get the fuck out of their way. That's what he's hoping for. He's got more to say.
Than a bug?
Worse than a bug. Well, how would you
Oh
be
my
worse than a bug?
God.
Everybody get the same treatment.
Because a bug, you say, oh, there's a bug over there. How cute little bug there. Me, they're talking over me, making me sit over here. What if I want to sit over there? Why do I got to sit there? I never heard of it.
I don't know. Why don't you go sit over there? Why don't you? Now, since we're on the topic of Zio hunting, and we're not done, I think we're going to have to up the ante as we go live from now on, because there's just so many of these incidents that are out there. But what I have to tell you, and one of the things that continues to give me some form of catharsis is this. Anyone, well, I'm not going to say anyone, but the overwhelming majority of those under the age of 45, they are done with Israel. And now they're not just done. They are letting them know that they're done. This was at a hotel in California a couple of days ago.
Palestine.
When we pay for a room, you're supposed to be completely objective with your clients. Completely objective. And you should be embarrassed of yourself.
All I said was
in California.
All I said was free Palestine.
Yeah.
All I said was free Palestine.
And you said that Israel is. Let's hear.
A Zionist state. Israel is a Zionist state. You are a Zionist.
Do you fucking know what
you are a Zionist?
Is? Do you even know what a Zionist
You're
is?
a Zionist.
Dímale.
Are you a Zionist?
Mami. אני רוצה ש...
Are you a baby killer? Did you serve in the IDF?
Mami.
Did you serve in the IDF?
אתה יודע מה...
Do you think I play your game, your mini game,
My game?
conscience hostage of game?
Okay.
Do you think I will fall to your words?
אני לא נשארת פה, אני רוצה לדבר על המנהל. אני לא נשארת פה. הוא גם בטח יפרוץ לחדר שלנו ויעשה איזה משהו.
I'm going to teach you a little lesson about proper etiquette in certain places. Now, I have been to events. I have been in fancy hotels. Here is one of the most important rules of etiquette wherever you travel. Unless you are not capable of speaking the language, the native language, like you just can't speak it, under no circumstances should you ever engage somebody who can speak the native language and then in your presence decides to speak another language with that person so that you can't understand what they're saying. The second that happens, the conversation is over. These people clearly can speak English. That's not up for debate. But in their made-up religious language, they decided to start talking in it. And clearly it was probably to, I don't know, maybe call him a spick or, something like that. Lord knows that they just let those, dirty slangs fly because they just don't give a shit. But do it so that he doesn't know what we're saying. Just throw caution to the wind and maybe he won't care. And trust me, they're speaking their shit language as a form of disrespect. That's on purpose. They're offended. Like the fact that he called them out for being Zios. So they're doing this. The second somebody starts doing that, do not engage them. Do not give them any peace of mind. They don't deserve it. This is what shitty people do. This is what genocidal shitty people do. And it's so telling when it's always the woman that starts the trouble. The man's just hanging on. This young man, he's all right. He's more than all right. Frankly, he's a hero. They decided that they don't even care that they're being filmed. They're just going to let it out. You disrespect, I ain't got to play your game. Let's finish it up.
All I said was free Palestine. She said she's a Zionist. You heard from her.
Leonardo DiCaprio has a lot of skeletons in his closet. There are photos of him at Diddy's parties. But because he's a white knight, he's an A-lister, he makes a lot of people a lot of money, well, he better keep doing that, because the second he doesn't is the second it all comes out. Of course he likes Israeli women. Of course he likes Israel. You know, the great thing about this awakening period that we're living through right now, everything crystallizes. If somebody likes Israel, supports Israel in any way, they're done. And speaking of which, I'm from New Jersey, as you guys know. And when I was growing up in high school, that's when The Sopranos came out. Some call it the greatest sitcom of all time, especially those that have to get away from, why doesn't anybody like my show anymore? Well, unfortunately, one of the main cast members of The Sopranos, somebody who went to my alma mater and is Jewish, and unfortunately is a Zionist as well. And that is Jamie Lynn-Sigler, who unfortunately doesn't really like the fact that a lot of Hollywood actors led by Mark Ruffalo and Javier Bardem are leading efforts to excommunicate anybody affiliated with Israel. And she decided to sit down with Mr. Platt, another Zio scum, and talk about her hurt feelings and about how people just don't understand.
Surprised by the division that was felt within our industry. I was really, really shocked that these type of people could not see the nuance and could not see the complexity of the situation and to, you know, boycott working with Israeli artists. I mean, come on, like artists and creatives, these are the people that are speaking from the heart and care about humanity and want to express through their medium healing and visibility and truth, and to think about censoring anybody that can do that because of where they come from. It feels so contradictory to like the industry that we're in and what you're supposed to get.
Let me be very clear, Mr. Platt and Miss Sigler. You are not from there. You are Ashkenazis, possibly Sephardics. You are not from there. And yes, Buscemi was not only a principal actor in the 5th season, but he was one of the most consistent directors of the show. Now, as you all can see, I bear a resemblance to several different actors, including Buscemi. But no, I was not on the show. Never really cared much for Sigler. I didn't really care for her one way or the other. But this level of psychosis that these people put themselves through, it's our land. It's where we're from. Boy, I tell you, the two of them together, boy, they really are native to that part of the world. Let me assure you, maybe 10,000 years ago. But holy shit. Cry me a river and then some. Well, she's acting up a storm right now. Yeah, let's just pair her with Deborah Messing and Noah Tishby and be done with it already.
And what you're supposed to support. And I get every day comments on any Instagram post I make. She's a Zionist. She's a Zionist. She's a Zionist. She's a Zionist. And I'm just.
Yeah, you are. Like, do you not admit that you're a Zionist? You do. And now they're using it against you and you don't like it. Did you see what Shane Gillis did to Chelsea Handler? She's having a conniption fit because he decided to call her out as a Zionist and she didn't like it. And it's always these privileged neoliberal women that can't take this shit. Can't take it. And Shane Gillis was, my God, how could you not love him in terms of how he did it? He just said, Chelsea Handler's a Zionist. That's all I wanted to say. And she hated it. Let's not be too hasty. Jamie Lynn-Sigler hasn't completely chopped up her face. Not yet, anyway.
Like what?
Being Jewish with Jonah Platt. Let's KVETCH a little bit more. She's got a little bit more to say.
To see an entire nation of people diluted into one single political view. It's the same way you could do about America. You can't have one thing represent an entire nation of people and then reject why Israel exists.
Yes, we can, and yes, we will. Israel does not have the right to exist. It shouldn't exist. And if the trajectory stays on course, which it looks like it won't exist. And you can cry about it and piss and moan about it until your heart's content. But you are on the wrong side of history, and I can only hope and pray to whoever's above that it costs you everything, that you have nothing to show for it. Maybe all of you Zios can get together and form your own, film production company. Jen said it best. You had a 3-week grace period to get your mind right after October 7th. By November 1st, if your mind wasn't right about what was going on, you are a criminal against humanity. If you are still on board with this shit right now, whatever happens to you, you deserve no sympathy. I don't care how bad it is. In this moment, right now, in this moment, she's on a pretty wide-reaching podcast with another Zionist bitch complaining about how Israel is just misunderstood. Did you not see the clip of all of the Zios celebrating the carpet bombing of civilians in Lebanon? We're not even talking about Gaza now. Don't allow Netanyahu to be the only person that we disrespect. We know that that's what the politicians do. We know that they just go out and blame them, that they're the ones at fault. But no, you just can't help yourself.
It's just, you're erasing history, or you're erasing so many stories and so many things that have led to this moment. Comments on.
You mean since 1948? Yeah, some history you've got. There is no excuse for being this affluent and this naive. And she's affluent. She made a lot of fucking money off that show. In large part because of James Gandolfini, because he made sure they got paid. And boy, did they get paid, especially in the last few seasons. As you can see by her background, she is not struggling to survive. She's very comfortable. Pretty much like all Zionists, especially Jewish Zionists, they all pretty much follow the same trajectory. They are living very comfortable lives, and they don't want to be inconvenienced, like that numbnuts in the DMV. And this is inconvenient for them. Let me tell you, you know who's going to get really rich once the state of Israel no longer exists? Psychotherapists.
On any Instagram post I make, she's a Zionist, she's a Zionist, she's a Zionist, she's a Zionist. I don't understand what you're trying to broadcast to the world about who I am. You know, you're not saying anything about me.
We're saying everything about you. Your identification with a genocidal cause is everything. Everything you did from 1999 to 2007, it's amazing how long it's been. It's been 20 years. Still cruising off of The Sopranos, but let me tell you, you only got to get it right once. You have an all-time show. Good for you. She became very wealthy as a result. You have no leg to stand on. You deserve to be cut down like a weeping willow tree. And as I said, you can weep now from now until the end of time. You are not a victim. You're an oppressor. You might not believe it, but you are part of the problem, as are a lot of others. All that work that you did, it's over now. It's not like she really did anything outside of The Sopranos. However, she was a big part of The Sopranos. She was one of the main featured players on the show. The only person on The Sopranos that I know that has decent politics is Steven Van Zandt. I just wish he could convince his best friend, Bruce Springsteen, to have a bigger set of balls like he does. But this is why we have to continue to speak out against this. I'm going to save this story for Monday night, even though I know Jen doesn't like talking about politics, but we're at the 2.5 hour mark, so I'm kind of done at this point. But I wanted to be able to talk about, Kenman, that's why I appreciate you, my friend. John Landau, for those who don't know, has been Springsteen's longtime manager. He is Jewish, and I believe he is a Zionist. And they've been together for 50 years. So yes. There are those that are convinced that somehow, some way, Israel is going to come out of this. But they're not. They've sealed their fate. And those who choose to continue to support this nonsense, you earn what you get. And many have earned it. I can't feel an ounce of sympathy for Jamie or anyone else. That's long gone. Debbie's doing what Debbie does. I say this to Sheila McCormick, Elijah Manley, Luther Campbell. You all better come up with a plan. It'll be on all of you if you allow her to get in. She set the cards on the table. Now you have to be strategic. And there are ways to do it. Politics is about making deals. You don't have to make illegal deals, but it's about making deals. So let's figure out how to make sure that she doesn't get in there. She's counting on all of you fucking up and her getting in. So don't fuck up. It's really that simple. If you consolidate, it doesn't matter how much money she has, she can't win. She knows that. She's counting on you fucking up. So don't fuck up. If you've enjoyed this conversation this evening, which we hope you have, please consider going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty, despite heavily suppressed, yet still growing channel. We had some of our slowest numbers ever tonight. Couldn't even hit 500. I'm wondering if, because we've tinkered with our start time, if that's had any impact. We'll see what happens next Saturday to determine if that's a lasting effect, or if we should go back to 7 o'clock Eastern start time. But still want to give a big shout out to our supporters this evening. Citizen Pendejo with the 50 pesos. Japan and Turkey dumped the petro. History will record Trump and Israel ran empire to the ground in record time. Einstein Emperors, Starmer and Maloney will lose power. I think you're right about that. I also believe that it was inevitable where we were going. They're just accelerating it to a rapid pace that one would have to be blind not to notice. Jim Talib with the $5. Always a pleasure, my friend. Libertarian Social Dem with the $4.99. Florida Dems have a chance by gutting DWS. Woke liberal focus on Orlando and Tampa and Jacksonville metros and younger Miami Hispanics and abandon the Zios. Good luck abandoning Zios in the state of Florida, pal. That's a hard lift. Saucy Spice with the $4.99. Tucker's right. Massie lost by cheating through mail-in ballots. Massie should have challenged it. I wonder if he and Ro Khanna will be on the 2028 ticket. Something different, I think, is going to happen in 2028. That, I think, is very likely. Now, what that different is, I don't know yet. We all don't know. But things are changing now. Libertarian Social Dem with the $1.99. Hope Tucker can bring back Eisenhower conservatism. Hey, he's working on it. He's definitely working on it. Citizen Pendejo with the 20 pesos. We do hear Stu Peters talk like Tucker, Pete. Stu Peters is definitely a guy who speaks his mind. Libertarian Social Dem with the $1.99. Massie will be for single payer, clean bill, no pork. I could see that. I could see that. Let me tell you, Massie's a very, very smart man. And you know what he knows how to do? Win. Get the whole country behind you. Single payer is one of the ways to do it. And if anybody has the balls to actually mean it and say it, he would be the one. Because he wouldn't mince words. He'd be like, this is how it has to be done. And away we go. So we'll see. Kenman G with the $6.99. Even now, people keep saying that they could have made that shot on Charlie Kirk so clearly Tyler guilty. That's what they say. But that's not what was done. Kenman G with the $2.79 Canadian A. Progressives are also useless, loving AOC. Just remember, the Democratic Party in their Democratic Party primary for President of the United States has a little thing called superdelegates, and they're not going away. That's all I need to know. So waste your time if you feel like it's necessary. But that's the reality. And finally, What Democracy with the $4.99 saw video of Israeli removing a no parking sign in Italy so they could park illegally. That tracks. This is, again, why we do what we do. That not while all stories may be sexy and enticing, we understand we have to do this. Oh, Melissa Miners, thank you for the $5. Have you seen Mr. Quigley on YouTube? Yes, I have, as a matter of fact. I actually just saw Mr. Quigley the other day. He's great. And why blue and white does not have the right to exist. Oh, yeah, no, listen. I would say if there's one thing that probably hurts our channel is that, we don't have high-end production quality. We don't have, fancy studio setup, microphone, camera, obviously. There's probably some improvements logistically we can make. And when I'm in a better financial situation, I would definitely look into that. But for the time being, we have what we have. But if you guys haven't seen Mr. Quigley, he's got a really solid show. So I definitely check him out on YouTube if you can. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this. I kind of went all out tonight in terms of what I wanted to talk about. I kind of thought I was going to go off the rails a little bit, but it turns out that we were able to hit it all. I couldn't let Jen down. She really wanted me to do that meta clip. So I figured, what the heck, have a little fun. So that's what we have to do. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. As always, we'll both see you Monday, and free Palestine. Good night, guys.